Anything?
I'm looking, searching.
Well, I got something.
Yeah?
It says, why are you doing this again? You've embarrassed yourself 18 times already.
Why not go for 19?
It's not really a fortune.
No.
It's just sort of an admonition.
Segue, sorts.
All right, well, that's what we're working with tonight. Welcome to tonight's annual predictions from the two most credible college advisors on the internet, as you can undoubtedly tell just by looking at us, Pearl and Andy Lockwood. Welcome. We're going to be going over our thoughts on what's ahead for 2024. Hello, Madam Pearl.
Oh, hello, Swami Andy.
Soothsaying Andy.
Soothsaying Andy.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
So who do we have with us? Say hi in the chat. Let us know that we're coming in loud and clear. We have a lot of people register for tonight. A lot of people who can hopefully handle the whole sooth and nothing but the sooth. Let us know that we're not just talking to each other, which does happen a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, honestly.
Don't be shy. Tell us hi.
Wow. You're going to do that all night?
No.
Okay.
Are you predicting that I might?
No, I'm hoping you're not, actually. It's a fervent request. Yeah. So this is what we do for fun for each other. This is like a big night for us. So hopefully you get some entertainment and some value out of this. Hello, I see Pearl. I see Maria, favorite Greek lady. Okay.
Ah.
Kathy, Chris from West LA, Brian Vitale. Hello, from first responding from LaGuardia. It looks like. Marjorie. All right, good. Marjorie, I talked to her. Marjorie, we gotta catch up. Okay. So Wade, Lisa, Gary, long-time listener, Kate, Jersey. All right, good. Hello, guys. All right, Pearl. So we have not looked at each other's predictions.
No.
You accused me earlier.
I just questioned.
Okay, there was an undertone.
No.
As with almost everything. Defensive. Yeah, as with almost every comment from her to me, there's always an undertone. And this was no different. You did accuse me without accusing me of looking at your predictions. I need my glasses anyway. So why don't we go through your? You want to just go through yours first, and then we'll go through mine? You want to switch off?
I think there's likely that there's going to be some overlap.
Yeah, so why don't we do yours first?
Maybe we should do chime in, like.
You do yours, and I'll comment, and then you can comment on mine.
Okay, that's
your heart's consent.
All right, and
if you guys have questions, lob them in. We'll no pride of authorship here. We'll definitely include your questions.
And then, of course, we have always the beloved, and I don't know if you've prepared this, like a what's hot, what's not.
Which colleges are hot, which colleges are not.
Hot,
oh, I covered those in my predictions.
Okay, so I have it as like an ancillary, not a specific prediction, but just as a general, which schools are hot, which are not. Okay. I'm just going to take it from the top of that. How's that?
Start with your first prediction, your first bold prediction. And let's just assume that none of us could have predicted what this year was like overall last year. So hopefully, as you watch this, you are not taking notes and recording this for next year's predictions.
Right. Because what's relevant today may be irrelevant in a year or not yet relevant. All right, so let's keep it positive, and we're going to start with what's hot. What's hot, and in a traditional historical trend, schools that perform athletically on the field seem to be performing well in attracting admissions candidates. So to that end, we've got University of Georgia, still a recurring applicant favorite, as well as Bama, coming up just short of a big championship this year, but having a lot to say for themselves. I'm not even going to try to attempt to talk sports here. I'll just continue with my list. And then, of course...
Any truth to the rumor that you're in line for the Alabama head football coaching job?
Absolutely. Almost a very great chance. No chance. There's no chance.
So you're saying no?
I'm saying absolutely no.
In English.
And then, of course, a school that's hot, has always been hot, is still hot, and even hotter, if that's possible, is, of course, University of Michigan, go blue. What's not so hot?
Is that a prediction, or are you just stating a fact?
These are predictions. No, that it's even hotter because it is now the national championship.
Okay.
And of course,
let me just chime in.
What's hot?
So my prediction with that is the applications will go up because of the Flutie effect, which many people who have participated in these with us, like Gary, understand that that's what it's called when a football team does well, or any athletic team, but usually football team does well. The following year, the applications go up, and that was named after Doug Flutie, 1984, I think, Boston College.
Nice.
So you're predicting, and I agree, that applications will be up at Michigan. At
those schools. Michigan and Alabama and Georgia still in that favored athletic spirit.
Flutie effect.
Flutie effect. What's not so hot? So
what will not be hot?
What will not be hot?
Which schools will not be hot?
Which schools will not be hot? Or, the way I will say this before I say these two schools, it's hard to say that they're just not going to be hot, because these schools are traditionally super, super hot.
Are you running for office? Just say in the prediction. You're hedging already.
I am.
Will you, if nominated, will you accept the vice presidential nomination?
These two schools, for once in their lives, are causing pause to some applicants and to some prospective applicants and candidates. But that's Harvard and University of Pennsylvania this year taking the top spots in my opinion for what's not so hot and not trending favorably for very obvious reasons.
I hate to do this, but I vehemently disagree with you. There is no way.
That's why I said caveat, still hot.
Then either you're making a prediction or
less hot.
Are you wishy-washy? Are you partially pregnant? Okay.
No,
it's either a prediction
but
or it's not.
But you can be a 10 and you could be an 8. An 8 is still very good in a lot of books, but if it used to be a 10, it's
there's no way.
Great.
I know there's been articles about the early applications down and whatever, but I'm going to go on record with my prediction of saying there will be zero change. Anyone, the top students, the top aspirational students will still apply to Harvard, and if they get in, they're still going to go to Harvard.
Thank their lucky stars and matriculate accordingly. Probably.
Side prediction: who's going to be the new president of Harvard? Barack Obama.
Is that your prediction?
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You really kept that one under your
turban. Are we culturally misappropriating?
Probably.
Wow.
I'm predicting more accusations of that sort
in upcoming
years.
I'm predicting more bad jokes from me.
Me too. All right. Shall we continue with the list of what's trending?
Yeah.
All right.
So we are going back and forth.
There's going to be.
I disagree with your prediction. I, of course, agree with mine.
Right. Okay. Fine. Continued questioning the return on the investment of higher education altogether. There is the confidence in there being a return on that investment is continuing to decline. So as such, consumers of higher education are going to be employing, hopefully, stricter due diligence when linking their education with career paths, and there's going to be more of a focus of, am I going to be able to pay this huge nut back? Because this is also with the backdrop of the college costs continuing to rise. There is no connection with inflation or the fact that there is a questioning as to these continually escalating college costs with whether there's going to be a return on that investment. The questioning of this is coming much more to the foreground, and colleges are going to have to be answerable to this in coming years.
To that I say, absolutely not. Humans are humans. We are great at making all sorts of decisions that are not rational. You just gave a very the problem with you is you're very rational and commonsensical. So I can overlook that fault because you're cute, especially in your little outfit. But we see people make all sorts of decisions that are in complete opposition of what you just said. They make decisions to send their kids to really super expensive schools, even though there is no obvious return on investment, and even though we discuss the lack of return on investment with them. I still think that people will do whatever they can to send their kids to college based on emotional reasons, not on rational reasons. I wish, in a vacuum, I wish what you're saying was going to be more of a trend, but my prediction is that is not going to happen this year.
I'm not saying this is going to necessarily be a landsliding trend. However, I think that the question altogether is continuing to be raised.
Clearly, Pearl lobbying for vice presidential status for the Republican ticket with that waffling. It's disgusting. Good.
Next trend.
Prediction. These are predictions.
Next prediction. Internships and apprenticeship opportunities. Again, circling back to the return on the investment, I think there is going to be a continued emphasis and questioning of the schools as to, am I going to be able to get a job from this experience, and looking to the colleges to provide that path. And to that end, I think there's going to be increasing opportunities at universities to respond to this demand between the link between education and careers. To that end, I will actually give you a statistic.
Whoa.
All right.
Crazy.
The number of apprentices in both the public and the private sectors has risen approximately 64% since 2012. So it's on the rise.
Wait,
and it's
what is an apprentice? Like the sorcerer's apprentice?
The number of people who participate in internships and apprenticeships.
You know anyone who did an apprenticeship? What is an apprentice? What's the difference?
I don't know, but I immediately think of like a blacksmith with like hammering it out like a horse's shoe.
I don't think color has anything to do with it.
What?
I don't think someone's color has anything to do with their smithing.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know the difference between an apprentice and an intern.
Well, I know there was a show called The Apprentice that, and
there's a movie called The Intern.
Yeah.
So we just resolved a lot.
All right.
Yeah. This is why you tuned in for these cutting edge predictions. So what's the actual prediction? There's going to be more of that?
There's going to be more, right. Like there are colleges, for example, Northeastern and Drexel. These are schools that have organized co-op programs or programs that really integrate the college experience with the working experience and gives students a real practical experience in the workforce in an area that they're interested in as a pathway to the career that they're embarking on.
Yeah. Well, I hope that happens. There's all these statistics every year about how it's a shockingly high percentage, like over 90% of employers say that kids graduating college are woefully unprepared.
Yep.
So colleges understand this, but I don't know how much they can do to really help. But I hope you're right. God bless you. You're doing God's work.
Yes. Okay. Next prediction. The AI boom is going to continue. It's here to stay.
Wow.
So predicting continued use of AI and an altogether coming into the forefront of educational tools. Be it AI, ChatGPT. They're going to integrate AI
predictions
into
webinars,
classrooms, and coursework. And I will go on record, I'm not on the bandwagon just yet. I've used no AI here tonight. Did you? OMG.
You tell me.
When are we going to tell me?
You tell me.
All right. No, this is like organic. This is me and my efforts. This is the fruit of my labor. I think there's going to be more work and committees at the academic level for establishing guidelines for appropriate use of AI, etc., and these types of educational tools. There's going to be ever trying to striking that balance between its use and its misuse.
Let me pick up on my AI thoughts, if I may.
Yeah, I'd love to hear.
So, a lot of colleges have no idea what the hell to do with it, but it is obviously it's not just a trend; it's actually a real thing. And admissions officers, there's all these discussions and panels and articles written about, the college essays, how they're being overdone by artificial intelligence. I think what we're looking at is ChatGPT and all these other, derivative, whatever they call it, large language model type artificial intelligence tools. They're definitely here to stay. The question is whether or how they're going to be permitted to be used. So my prediction is that it's going to be acceptable. You can't stop it, but there's going to be other ways to get at learning about students and what they're bringing to the table when they apply to college. So first of all, there are programs to ferret out plagiarism and stuff, which is not really an application thing, but it's an in-college thing. So there's going to be more of that. I think there's an acknowledgement that you can use ChatGPT, but then you're really, in order to make it into a good paper worth being presented, it's really got to be more about your editing or prompting of the ChatGPT in order to get a good result. So the first drafts are certainly done okay right now with artificial intelligence, but I think at least as of now it's going to change. But as of now, those should just be considered drafts. And I think a lot of kids should be made aware of that. They need to still do some work, a lot of work afterward. But in terms of how they're used, how AI is used in this process of getting into college and paying for college, there's all kinds of algorithms that are being deployed to figure out the likelihood of whether, if you admit someone, whether they're going to actually show up. There are algorithms that have been developed and will continue to be honed to scan applications. So everyone who's applying to college in the next couple of years needs to be aware of this, and I wouldn't say necessarily tailor their candidacies for college toward these algorithms. But for example, one factor that I think is fairly easy for an algorithm to pick up is how interested a child is or a student is in a particular college, as demonstrated by showing up at their social media and following them, showing up at their web pages and what pages they actually click on, and their online presentations and things like that. I think that's going to be more important than ever in terms of determining whether, if a college admits that student, the likelihood that they will actually show up, which is super important. So understanding that's how the game works is going to be pretty important, I think, for applicants, to help them game the system and improve their odds of getting in. And then there's always talk. I don't think it's going to happen this year at all, but there's always talk about doing away with the essays altogether, the admissions essays, because they are highly polished, I think, at one end, and in other cases they sound like a Pulitzer Prize winning author wrote them. So instead they may go to other means of extracting that type of information they were hoping for, which is a kid's voice and personality and all that. So there might be like video interviews, short ones, just like our daughter, to get its
authenticity.
Yeah, like our daughter just went through Rush up at college, and I guess the first round was video stuff, where you answer a bunch of questions,
right?
And so that's already being used in certain contexts. A lot of people are suggesting that might be done in the admissions context. Mm-hmm. Same thing with maybe being asked to write a time under a timed prompt condition, almost like a standardized test. Turning in work that you've previously done in high school. That's been something that a few colleges have used over the years, that you might see some more of that. Allowing recommenders to upload their thoughts, either by audio or audio and video, to give more color and background on applicants. So there's going to be a lot of changes. I think it's going to happen this year, but slowly.
Yep. Two more comments on AI and the trends. Because of the trend of the increased use of AI, not only in admissions in college and in every area of life, but that's going to affect what future employers are looking for from their college applicants in terms of those with AI experience and knowledge. And then, of course, what that leads to is more institutions then providing the substantive coursework and undergraduate and graduate degrees in machine learning, big data, and AI. So we can expect, sort of in the same vein as once the Department of Homeland Security was created after 9/11, there were colleges offering background, the degrees in that type of security. So too with the birth of AI, there's going to be not only substantive coursework, people going into teaching, for example, will need the skills to learn the appropriate applications of AI in the education field for tailoring personalized learning plans, et cetera, and so forth, as a practical, positive application of AI. For example, that underlying coursework in both undergraduate and graduate institutions will be offered, and that's going to continue to trend. Okay. Next, we done with AI for now?
Yep.
Okay.
Done with artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Next continuing trend is prioritizing mental health on college campuses due to, unfortunately, rates of increased anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideations on college campuses has never been higher. Counseling centers across the board are overwhelmed, and students are waiting sometimes weeks, if not months, for appointments. So this is a rampant problem. There is whether they're actually prioritizing it or being forced into prioritizing it because of the statistics here, colleges are attempting to increase their priority here with mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, you agree?
Continue.
Nothing to say.
Yeah,
okay, next. Well, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and policies.
Controversial.
DEI programs I'm predicting they're going to continue to get politicized, okay?
Wow.
Wow, I'm really going on a limb here. I didn't even need the hat for that one. We can expect more legal challenges to race-conscious considerations in awarding of financial aid and admissions practice and other admissions practices now that the Supreme Court has come down banning the practice of affirmative action at colleges.
What? So I think on the admission side it's been talked about to death, but what about on the financial aid side? Like how do you think race factors into financial aid, or how can it?
What do you mean?
Well, you mentioned financial aid.
Well, on the financial aid forms now, they are affirmatively asking you to indicate what race you are, and that is new to the financial aid form. So,
because that is not what the Supreme Court case was about. So that's very interesting.
That's true, but that is new to the financial aid forms.
Possible prediction that there will be some legal discussion about that.
Yeah, I'm predicting.
That's going to be a hard one.
Increased legal challenges altogether. I'm also expecting creative workarounds, if you will, to the Supreme Court striking down schools' use of affirmative action.
I want to get back to the financial aid thing. So I think that's a hard one to litigate because you have to show damages, right? You have to somehow show, like in the affirmative action cases with Harvard and UNC Chapel Hill, they were able to say, like, look, this kid had great grades and great scores at the top of his class, but he didn't get in, whereas other kids who looked different visually, did get in.
Right.
And that was, basically the gist of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not aware of any percolating yet type of case that would say something like, well, I'm black, I didn't get as much money, or I'm white, I didn't get as much money as a black guy, but I have the same, income and same savings on that. Because I don't know how you can prove that, but it is interesting that they ask about that.
Yes, you can select.
Doesn't mean that the colleges download that too. That there's a nuance there. Like even.
I'm going to give an analogy here.
Well, let me just say this. Then you can analogize away. On the college applications this year, on the Common App, there were questions about race and ethnicity, but apparently colleges didn't download that information. It was still asked about, I guess, for monitoring purposes. A little skeptical. But
training purposes.
But I'm wondering, and recorded.
We're recording this just for training purposes.
So I'm wondering if that something like that is, the equivalent is going on in financial aid. I just don't see how there can be lawsuits yet without proving damages.
I don't know if there are any. They would, again, in a similar vein as to the affirmative action case, they would have to get the underlying work product of these institutions and how they make these decisions.
Policy. Yep.
And compare those statistics, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm predicting creative workarounds to the Supreme Court striking down the use of affirmative action or the explicit use of affirmative action. For example, examples of workarounds are maintaining the test-free and test optional. This is another prediction. They're going to maintain test optional or test-free admissions at schools, because if that is just taken off the table as consideration, it doesn't box you in to certain admission statistics. It's an example of a workaround to the Supreme Court decision. And the other such workaround is many institutions are doing away with legacy admissions to even the playing field more. So we're predicting a lessening of the legacy factor being helpful for admissions. You have anything to say on any of that? You want me to continue with my list? Okay. Budget woes are going to continue at the college level, because even though they are increasing the price they are charging you every year, lo and behold, schools across the board are finding themselves in very tight financial straits. So too, we can expect some handful, as we've seen trending already, smaller, failing liberal arts institutions that are being forced to, or either being acquired by bigger institutions or merging, together with other small institutions in order to stay afloat. Also this year, and remains to be seen, there's been a lot of private donor rebellions, like those suffered at the end of 2023 by some institutions, like University of Pennsylvania.
Controversial. Third rail, Pearl. Don't go there.
Not controversial for me. So, hey, that's a bummer, right? Anyway.
Well, there are a lot of colleges out there that probably shouldn't be in business.
So expecting more institutions in order to remedy this budget woe. Expecting a lot of bridge programs, maybe community colleges working with bigger institutions to have a matriculation program as a way to increase their enrollment. There'll be an increase, of course, in remote and hybrid learning as a way to address the budget issue. There'll be a continued use of hybrid or fully remote synchronous and asynchronous learning opportunities to maximum income potential. You can service more students this way at the same cost, greater profitability to the institution. We will also see, resulting in part from what we saw this past year, government's increasing involvement in colleges altogether. As a result of this past year's issues of anti-Semitism on college campuses, some schools, and the schools at times often reprehensible and unsatisfactory response, there's going to be a lot more legislative oversight, especially in cases where there is public funding of these institutions.
Well, that'll be interesting, because it's it's a tough thing to when it becomes a First Amendment issue.
But you still can't scream fire in a movie theater,
That's true. Any other predictions?
I'm predicting that this is going to trigger me. Let's see.
You're like pre-triggered from the moment you wake up at like 3 a.m.
True.
Anything else?
No.
Any other predictions?
Nope.
All right.
That's
all
she wrote.
Some overlap here, but I appreciate those. Those were good.
Thanks.
All right. I'm just going to rack off a few from my tarot cards here. I'm predicting that this year is going to be the first year, meaning 24-25, where we actually see a $100,000 cost of attendance. We've been inching toward it in the 80s and 90s in terms of the published cost of attendance that colleges put out there. But I'm going to call it that this year is the first year we're going to see it over some schools over $100,000. We know that some schools cost more than $100,000. They haven't published that yet. And when one does, then all the others are going to follow suit. And mostly schools like Columbia, the elite schools. But it's also going to be schools that are, not Ivy. They're like a next step down, private schools. Yeah. So that is a dire prediction, but it's going to happen. Offsetting that somewhat will be an increased increase in the tuition discount rate. Every year, the National Association of Collegiate Business Officers tracks the average discount rate published by, I guess, set by every college, and it's currently over 56%, and it goes up every year. So colleges play this game. They raise prices, but they raise the discounts. A few have opted out of that game, but for the most part, that's how it works. But so that may offset some of the increase. Okay, application inflation. I'm going to predict again, not just from this year as we're seeing, but also next year, in another ridiculous year in terms of how many applications go in. It's not that we have more kids applying. We have more applications going in thanks to the common application, thanks to test optional policies. It just makes it harder for admissions officers to get through. So the trickle down is that there's a lot more deferrals. If you apply early action, they may not even read your application until March because they're so busy, they're so inundated. The average admissions officer reviews over 1,000 applications a year. We've got a guy, Nick, who works for us, who's actually just got promoted to another college. He's director of admissions now, but when he was at Manhattan College, he read something like 2,500 applications a year. So it's a lot, and that is one source of the delays. Applications are up since 2019, the 2019-2020 cycle, which was 4 years ago. They're up 65%, 65, since then. And the total number of kids graduating high school is slightly less. So that's my prediction there. College closures, because of the financial pressures that Pro was saying, I'm going to predict that there won't be so many. And I'm making this prediction based on extremely unscientific opinion, because we've been talking about this for 3 years, that colleges are going to shut their doors left and right, and they haven't. And the reason
this is like
it's a trickle, but it's not some massive thing yet, right? It's not some bubble that it should happen.
But we are now at a higher interest rate than we were a year ago. You're
really married to your prediction. I'm just reading the tea leaves. I don't have any emotion.
I need to be right.
Yeah, I don't have any dog in this race. So what happens is the colleges will go on these massive fundraising campaigns from their alumni. A lot of the research institutions or the prestigious schools, they get a ton of grants from the federal government. They raise tuition. That's probably third or fourth on the hit list of how they raise money. So I don't think there's going to be that many.
They sit around in a boardroom and they scratch their heads and they go, "Hey, let's just increase tuition again this year. That's a great idea. Yay, golf clap, golf clap."
Well, what they call that is growing their way out of the problem. So
but they do it successfully because it's totally unfettered.
Well, it's not. By the way, it's not just raising tuition; it's also expanding their programs. So that's why you see a lot of these bullshit, pardon my French, programs sports marketing,
that probably hurt a lot.
I know, but it's a exciting sounding field. But if you want to be in sports marketing or sports management or something, you don't need a sports marketing degree, right? If you went to Harvard, there's a lot of guys from the Ivies who are in that, working for whatever, the Red Sox, the Yankees, all professional sports leagues. That they don't have sports marketing degrees. But colleges that are not the elite schools understand that that's something that's going to attract kids to them. So they grow their way out. The problem is they're not very good at managing their own budgets. So they may get more students, but they also hire more staff, more admin, more DEI people. That's a big one that colleges spend a ton of money on. One of our kids is at Michigan. They have something. Well, a year ago they had 97 DEI officers. I'm sure they have more now. So I don't know. We're small business owners. We don't know. How to run a big business, but that just seems like a lot.
Our DEI department is quite small.
Yeah. Is that you or is that me? Because you're smaller. You're a lot smaller. All right. I had the prediction that University of Michigan is going to see an uptick in applications. We covered that. The Flutie effect. I think that in terms of essay writing, ChatGPT will have an effect on the output of kids' essays, but nowhere near as much of an effect as moms do on the college essays.
What?
I had so many moms this year step in, and guys,
it is the moms.
Yes, not dads.
I know.
Very rarely dads. I understand. We 4 kids. I understand the impulse of wanting to step in and help your child with this process. You really understand with one of our kids. You are. I'm calling you out, turban and all. We have 3 kids in college right now. You went over the top helping one of our kids, not by our client standards, but by our standards, and it didn't really work out. Correct. And I think that's the thing. It's like when you do that, what you're doing is sending a message.
That's true.
That you can't do this yourself.
Yep.
Mommy's always going to help you. And just the bigger picture is when you prop your kids up with tutoring and this and that, all these special things, you argue with the teacher about grades and all that.
Imposter syndrome.
They develop, right, exactly. They feel like deep down, even though they may not be able to articulate it, and you may not see any visible signs of this, they feel like they can't do this without it.
It's a byproduct of it. It's true.
So it comes from a good place in terms of wanting to help your kids. We all want to do that, but it actually has the opposite effect. Yep. So it's not just essays, but I do feel like the mom GPT is much more widespread than any type of artificial intelligence.
Great point.
Public service announcement. Yeah. If you're a mom, and this is I'm not trying to offend any of our clients who think that I'm talking directly to them. I promise you, I'm not. We have enough clients this year and over the years where I could be talking to literally 50 people.
Yep.
Okay. The only person I singled out was Pearl. I'm gonna have to deal with that later. Okay. I kind of mentioned this already. My prediction is that the bad PR that Harvard is experiencing will have 0 effect on it long term. Just the same way I predicted to you privately about 25 times that the whole Bud Light thing was going to be not a problem at all. And now they have football commercials with Peyton Manning and Emmitt Smith throwing out beers to guys at the bar. What could be more manly than that?
I want to check the books.
Okay, you check the books.
At the end of all these quarters and see how they do.
And I am going to put my hands up for a Peyton Manning reception.
I think I'm still guessing it was a financially regrettable choice.
Yeah, it was, but they came back. By the way, the funniest thing, we talked about this the other night, was so they dropped from number 1, and what replaced them was like Modelo as the number 1 beer, because of all this anti whatever trans whatever backlash, blah, blah, and then of course what most people don't understand, but they're all owned by the same company. Also
often and true in zealots with causes, not really understanding the actual.
So anyway, so my prediction, back to the college thing, is Harvard will be just fine, ladies and gentlemen. And I am no champion of Harvard. Okay, I think all this backlash against the woke curricula and critical race theory and things like that, I think it's a healthy thing to be discussing this in terms of fostering open discussions, but I don't think that there's going to be any real change. I think that in general, the people who go into academia are professors who overwhelmingly, like 90-something%, will vote Democratic. Mm-hmm. I think they are still going to be teaching and maybe galvanized by the backlash that they're experiencing. So I don't think there's going to be any major changes in curricula or anything like that. But I do like and I do appreciate how there is more discussion about it. And unfortunately, it's a very energized, simmering to boiling over discussion. But I get a sense that this is just a gut feeling. Maybe it's something I want to happen. I get the feeling it's kind of ratcheted down a little bit at some schools. I'm seeing more stories about there being more open discussion or the administration trying to codify fostering these open discussions. I think it's happening slowly to allow the free exchange of ideas, which is the whole point of a university. But I don't think it's going to work. She does this to me all the time.
Free exchange of ideas in college.
Right. I think it's. I think it's good that this is all being discussed because that is going to improve things. It's not going to fix things. That's why I said there's not going to be much of a change.
Yeah. Agreed.
That was a great guffaw. Great stage laugh. She's really bringing it tonight. Thank you. All right. Post the Supreme Court decision of affirmative action that Pearl mentioned earlier, I think that instead of the death of diversity at colleges, I think it's all going to be about the same. And one of the reasons is that colleges have, like you were saying, these workarounds that are actually legal. It was actually sort of alluded to by Justice Roberts' opinion, where he said something like, nothing in this opinion today about outlawing affirmative action takes away from colleges asking kids to write about their challenges or their obstacles that have to do with anything in their lives, including their cultural backgrounds, in supplemental essays. Yeah. So, like magic, all these colleges, I mean, before the decision, there was a lot of colleges that asked questions about what community are you from, what values did you grow up with, etc. Now they all ask that pretty much. So, that's why I think that there's, when the dust settles, the number or the percentages are going to look relatively the same. That's my bold prediction there. My other prediction was that we talked about already was these substitutes for college essays. There's not going to be a huge overhaul of colleges no longer asking for essays, but because of artificial intelligence, because of frankly firms like us who help kids write their edit and write their essays, we don't write before them. We always make sure there's a fine line between editing and completely overhauling someone's essay.
Yep.
And it's very easy to
ChatGPT, striking a balance of appropriateness and inappropriate.
And it doesn't work anyway because the admissions officers understand that.
Yes.
They just roll their eyes. But that's why that's one of the reasons why there might be some essay substitutes, like short video interviews and things like that. This is going to be my last one, and this is I'm going to say the narrow prediction, but I think it applies to a bigger picture. So we've seen some weird things or things that appear weird with highly selective majors. So I was reading an article, I think it was 2 days ago, about that mentioned a kid who applied for computer science at the University of Texas, Austin. The two hardest majors are computer science and engineering. So if you're applying there, you're in a pool of really super high achieving kids. So the kid doesn't get in there. They got to Stanford.
Wow.
Right. And that, the point of the article is that this is so crazy, it's such an anomaly, but it's really not. And from where I sit, and we work with 100 or so kids on their applications and essays and all that, is that I think that if you are going for a field like that, a specialized field, what's going to separate you from everyone else who has the same grades and same scores is how deep your application is. So long before you decide to pursue engineering, and I'm talking 10th grade, that's the time, maybe 9th grade, but certainly by 10th grade, that's the time to start deepening your experiences. And that could be entering contests. It could be doing internships. It could be working on research, that a legitimate research project with a professor. It could be taking extra courses. Either it doesn't have to be at a college. It can be there's so many online courses that are available right now for either free or very, very cheap. But you've got to pay attention to that stuff much, much earlier than you might think. And you'll never hear this from your guidance counselor, because for the most part they're overwhelmed. There might be several hundred kids that they have to deal with, and most of them don't even meet with their students until 11th grade. But if you have a student who is gunning for a super high type of school and a really competitive major, it's way more about than just your grades and your scores. It's about this, what I call a thread of continuity that goes through your application and connects everything from your whole body of work, your extracurriculars, your academics, everything else, your recommendations, everything else on your application. So it's not really this comment is not really tied only to going after a computer science major or an engineering major. It's really what everyone should be thinking about doing earlier than they might normally think about it. And those are my predictions.
Nice predictions.
Yes. Any questions or comments, reactions, put them in chat. I am going to attempt to, because Pearl usually does this, but I don't think we set this up. If you are interested in talking to us, we'll take a few appointments. Been cutting back on those lately. You can do a free college strategy session. We usually block out like 12. I think we can do that. I'm not positive. Anything in the chat or comments from anybody?
Couple of different comments. Carolyn loves ChatGPT.
Mom GPT.
Let's see. Heather letting us know, excuse me, UMass Amherst received 50,000 plus early action applications for 5,300 spots. A state school. Yikes.
Yeah, and there's no way they were able to review all those in time to respond. That's the thing about early action. The whole premise of early action, at least ostensibly, according to the colleges, is you apply early, you find out early. All the stress of the whole cycle will be, alleviated. But what happens is you apply early, you get deferred, and then you're right. So it's worse, I think, and then you don't find out till April.
Right. Okay. Gary, unfortunately, reminding us that the mental health problem actually starts with the stress we put on the kids while they're in high school.
Gary also says we're 100% accurate every year with our predictions.
Yeah.
I think he's got memory issues, maybe early Alzheimer's or something. Hopefully he's okay. Gary, I'm praying for you.
What else?
Brian told us about Jim Harbaugh going to the Chargers. That was
news.
predictable. Yeah. What about Belichick?
Yeah, and what about JJ McCarthy? Do we know where he's heading yet? Yeah.
It's so funny that you actually know who that is.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, of course.
All right.
Heather, where is the money going? The college money? Yeah, a lot of the money that the tuition goes to.
That's salaries.
Goes to salaries, but not necessarily professors, because they hire a lot of adjuncts who are cheaper. It's admin. A lot of it goes to admin. I mean, it's expensive to run a university. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of it goes to staff. And then, of course, there's all the physical plant and some of the stuff that makes headlines. For people like me sees on this, it's like all the lazy river and all the all that junk. But that's I don't think that's as nearly as much as the salaries for the admin. Heather told us about UMass Amherst. Thank you very much. Has UMass early action results come out? I haven't seen any yet. Oh,
somebody saying maybe tonight,
Heather.
Which usually is 7-ish.
Got it. Natasha giving us a real was he waitlisted or deferred? Because there is a difference. Try for business. Okay. Eisenhower, extremely competitive. Yep. Okay, guys. Well, I think that was another successful, without any type of follow-up next year, accountability-free predictions webinar.
Yeah,
well, I think these are some good ones. I think they're actually
and they're different than last year. I actually looked back at last year's predictions.
Why'd you do that?
Because I just wanted to see what's changed or what's happened or what didn't happen or
what's
happening. Year? Good, but the point was there were new things and or things that we were just mentioning are much more in the forefront of things now.
Okay. All right, cool.
These trends are real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, well, hopefully you enjoyed your time with us. So we really appreciate it because everyone is so busy and there's plenty of other things to do.
And we get to wear these fun costumes.
Yeah, we can put them away for another year.
Yeah.
Stowed away in some closet. Yeah. Is yours clean, by the way? Your hat?
Meh.
Yeah. All right. So thanks a lot, and we will come back in the near future without costumes, with more webinar information for you as we see fit. I guess we'll be updating what's happening with financial aid pretty soon. We'll be updating college admissions stuff. We've got some stuff planned to help 11th graders coming up. So there's a lot we have on the docket, and as long as you're on our email list, you'll hear about it.
Yeah.
All right. Have a great night.
Take
Madam
care.
Pearl.
Bye.